Revenge films.
My husband was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease, and he quit his job because of it. When he was first diagnosed, he looked really ill, and I was worried about him. I was hoping that he'd be able to work again after he recovered, though. But even after he became better, my husband didn't make any effort to find a new job. I have a full-time job, so it was possible for us to live on my income alone. But I was irritated when I came home tired from work every day to see my husband playing games all day long. You look well enough to go back to work. Have you started looking for a new job yet?
I'm worried that I'll get sick as soon as I go back to work. I feel better about my health if I continue to stay home. I think the stress of my previous job was what made my symptoms worse. I don't want to get another job just to quit again. We have enough money because of your stable income. Do I really need to get a job?
I was disheartened by his lack of motivation. Another thing that bothered me was that my husband didn't do any of the household chores. He had all the time in the world to do them. He wasted his time playing games all day. Even if he saw me cleaning the house after I got home from a full day's work, he didn't offer to help out. How inconsiderate of him. If I asked him to help, he'd do it, but be really proud of himself. I didn't want to have to ask for his help each time, though. I wanted him to take the initiative. One day, I found out that my husband was cheating on me. Unbelievable! Is that why he didn't want to work? I became suspicious because he was withdrawing our money from the bank bit by bit, and I asked him what he had used the money for. I found out later that he had been inviting his lover to our home while I was at work. Some of my neighbors had seen them on several occasions. I was furious with my husband about the affair. This was the last straw. You don't bring any money into the house, and you have the audacity to go out and have an affair with my money?
It's not my fault. I can't work because I'm sick. I have nothing better to do with my time. It's just a fling. Nothing to lose your head over.
I don't believe this. That's the lamest excuse I heard anyone use to justify cheating on their wives. If you don't have anything better to do, you should go out and get a job. If you have the energy to have an affair, you're healthy enough to have a full-time job.
That's not possible! I'm going to get really sick if I start working again. My symptoms get worse if there's any stress in my life. Not working is the best way to treat my illness.
Our conversation was going nowhere. My husband was crazy. If this is how you're going to act, I want a divorce.
You can't do that to me! I just told you that I'm not able to work. What am I supposed to do about money? I'm not divorcing you! You don't know what it feels like to have to deal with this sickness! Do you realize that you're causing me unnecessary stress to me right now?
You stay at home all day long playing video games, and when you're doing nothing, you're wasting your hard-earned money on your lover. You never offer to do the household chores. I don't see why I'm the one that has to do everything for us. I hate my life with you.
I'm the one that's sick! As my wife, isn't it your duty to do everything that you can to make me feel better?
I bet you're not even sick anymore. You're faking it. You're using my money to live life the way you want, and to top it all off, you disrespect me by cheating on me. What you're doing to me is unforgivable.
I don't see why you're getting so worked up about this. As my wife, it's your job to take care of this house. You should be grateful that I help you out when I can. I'm a good husband to you. I don't know what you're complaining about.
I felt nothing but hatred for my husband. He used his illness as an excuse for everything. He was also adamant about not getting a divorce. I didn't know what else to do, so I went to discuss this with my parents-in-law. It's not our fault. Our son is sick. Please support him in any way that you can.
That's right. As his wife, you should be more supportive. If he can't work due to his illness, you need to step up. He cheated on you because you're not paying enough attention to him. He has needs.
You need to fix things with our son. I now understand why my husband was the way that he was. He was identical to his parents. I realized that I had gone to the wrong people for advice. I felt hopeless and didn't know who to turn to. I then received a phone call from my uncle. I decided to confide in him about my marital problems and asked for his advice.
That's insane! You don't need to put up with their craziness! I'm gonna help you get out of this marriage. Leave this to me.
I was happy that someone saw how crazy my current situation was. I knew that my husband was incapable of change and that he couldn't be easily persuaded. I hoped that my uncle would be able to help me like he said he would. A few days later, I received a phone call from my father-in-law. He told me that he was coming over to pick up his son. I didn't know what was going on. My father-in-law explained to me that he worked under my uncle and that he didn't want my uncle to be unhappy with him. This was the first time I heard about this, and I was pretty surprised. What a small world. When my uncle found out about how my husband and his parents were treating me, he spoke to my father-in-law right away and scolded him.
I don't understand why your son doesn't work and plays games all day while my niece goes out every day to work hard. Does that seem fair to you? On top of that, he cheated on her. He's a terrible husband. You need to do something about him. He's ruining my niece's life. I also heard that you and your wife encouraged my niece to work harder and take better care of her cheating husband. That's insane! He's your son. You need to get him to take some responsibility. Convince him to divorce my niece. She doesn't need someone like him in her life. I had no idea that she was your niece. I'll speak to my son right away. I'm sorry for all the inconvenience caused.
My father-in-law came to pick up my husband right away and took him home with him. He even brought over the divorce papers with him so that we could get them signed right away.
You need to sign these and let your wife go. You don't deserve to stay married to her after the way you treated her. I got in a lot of trouble at work because of you. What does your work have to do with anything? I don't want to move out. I like living here. Well, you don't have a choice. You don't work, and you live off your wife's money. You don't have the right to live here.
I was surprised to see how much my father-in-law's attitude had changed after speaking to my uncle. I guess his job meant that much to him. Now my father-in-law is criticizing everything that's wrong with his son. After the divorce was finalized, I expect you to pay me a decent amount of alimony.
Of course. I'll make sure that my son pays you the amount that you request. Please don't say anything more to your uncle, though. I don't want to ruin my relationship with him any further.
That's up to you and my husband. I'll rely on my uncle again if I need to. After I lost my parents, my uncle raised me like a second father. He's my only family, and I will consult him if necessary. My father-in-law seemed distressed to hear me say that. He was sweating like crazy.
I'll sort this all out. Don't you worry about it. I'll make sure that my son doesn't bother you anymore. And he'll pay you alimony as requested. Why do I have to pay money to her? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm sick. It's not my fault that I can't work. What are you going to do if my symptoms get worse from all the stress? You need to grow up. You relied on your wife long enough. It's now time for you to stand on your own 2 feet. It's your fault for becoming sick in the first place. And you're not even sick anymore. And why would you cheat on your wife? You're a disgrace!
And then my father-in-law started beating up his own son.
Oh, stop it! You're hurting me!
In the end, my husband signed the divorce papers and our divorce was finalized. After the divorce, I moved into a new apartment. I didn't want to stay in my old apartment and be reminded of my ex-husband. My uncle found me a good lawyer and I sued both my ex-husband and his lover after finding out who she was. My husband couldn't afford to pay me alimony, so his parents covered the costs, which left them bankrupt.
You need to work hard and pay us back the money that you borrowed from us. I won't let you quit your job until you pay us back the full amount. You don't know what that will do to me. I'm sick, remember? No, you're not, you big man baby. This is all your fault, and you need to be punished for it.
My ex-husband was sent to work on a fishing boat where the working conditions were severe and the pay was low. His coworkers were not very nice to him and they abused him daily. It was my ex-husband's fault for getting sick, but the way he acted afterwards was what caused our marriage to fall apart. He deserves to be punished.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.